I'm Dr. David Baker Hargrove.
And I'm Robert Baker Hargrove. And we're at the top of your inbox.
This is the place where we come together to bring to you all of our years of lessons learned from owning and operating businesses both independently and together.
And our goal is to provide you with a little bit of a business bite for you to take back to your company to help your business grow and your leaders develop. So, Dr. Dave, what's at the top of your inbox today?
So today, I thought that we would talk about the life cycle of a business, focusing specifically on what we refer to as the dynamic growth cycle.
So in the dynamic growth cycle, and let me back up for a minute. So last week, we talked about having a startup and where you are in a startup. So this week, we thought we would follow up and talk about the dynamic growth phase. And a dynamic company has basically three parts to it. And those three parts are being innovative. Innovation is so key. The next would probably be operationalize. How do you operationalize the innovations that you've then put into place? And then planning. How do you plan for the future? So it's that three-step process of innovation, operationalize, and plan. So Dr. Dave, why don't you start at the top and let's talk about innovation for a moment.
Right, because it's a constant cycle. So in the innovation phase, that you are really looking at your processes, your technology, your workforce. It can be a whole part of your organization. It can be one department. It can be just one work team. It can be anything that you decide is important to take a look at and do a deeper dive on to see what can be improved in some way. Because at some point, you're not going to be a startup anymore. You're going to be in this dynamic growth phase, and you really have to look at how you can continue to grow, stay sharp, be on the cutting edge, and be able to provide that little something extra in your business or in your product or what you offer to your customers that's going to be better and keep you ahead of the competition. Maybe looking at technology. Has the technology that you used improved in some way over the last couple of years since what you've instituted? You know, technology improves so vastly and so quickly nowadays. You really want to take a look at it every couple of years to make sure that there haven't been major improvements, which there probably has. Maybe even some of the vendors that you use, key vendors. Yes. You know, sometimes when you grow exponentially, some of the vendors that you have used at some point in the past, maybe they haven't grown as quickly as you have.
Always reevaluating those relationships.
Yes, exactly. And maybe that they haven't been kept apace of your growth and they can no longer provide you the level of service that you need. And so that can be something that actually is, in fact, innovation.
Absolutely. Yes, it
looking
is.
at your workforce, you know, in what way do you need to expand? Do you need to add positions? Do you need to grow new departments? Do you need to look at how you are providing the services that you're providing? Can you do things in a different way? Can you streamline? Can you change your mindset in some way? Yes. There's so many things that you can look at. If you're not constantly in a dynamic phase, then you are going to stagnate and you will not be able to keep up with your peers. You will not be able to stay on the cutting edge of what you went into business for in the first place. And you will run the risk of either being of either stagnating or your company won't survive.
And what they say, the only thing constant is change. And so from a business perspective, the one constant that you're going to have is change, whether it's change from a growth standpoint, change in leadership, when you have to think about adding new leaders, because you can't do it all. So you're going to have to continue to look at change and be innovative. And so really you have to also think about your mindset and that transition in your mindset as the owner or as a senior leader of the organization. Because I really feel like that's important. How do you get from the startup into the innovation? Because it's great for us to talk about that, but we really need to discuss that transition for a moment. And so thinking about going to transitions, thinking about operationalize, when you've had all that innovation and like David listed quite a few things that could be innovative within the company and even more. So then you think about, okay, now we've made all of this change, this innovation. How do we then make it, maintain it? How do we then put it into a full operation? You may have to look at some processes. You may need to look at training. You may need to look at resources. But the whole point is, how do we now sustain the innovation that we have now implemented into the organization, into the company? So really making sure that you're following up with your employees, following up with your leaders. Hey, how's it going? I know that we've made this change. How's it looking? We've innovated this, we've done this. Really really kind of staying connected so that way you can really see, hey, do we have to make some tweaks or adjustments to really make sure that we are maximizing this innovation that we've now implemented into the organization. And I feel like that when you really take that step back and you're starting to do an analysis on how is it working for us, you'll be able to see some processes that maybe need some improvement, some guidelines, or some things that you can celebrate saying, you know what, we did implement this. This is how we're doing it, and it really has improved, increased productivity. We have new clients or customers coming in, anything of that nature. So, what do you think about that?
Well, if you don't, you can innovate all the live long day if you want to, but if you don't foster buy-in to the areas of the organization that you are performing the innovation in, then you are really just wasting your time. It's going to collapse. So part of innovation is really doing it in the best way possible, that you're fostering buy-in from the people who are being affected. Now, I will tell you the caveat to that. It's never going to be 100%. People don't like change.
True.
And so you're never going to have 100% buy-in necessarily from everybody in your workforce. And so you're always going to have to look for situations sometimes where there may be people who don't fit with the new change, and be able to handle that and adapt accordingly. I think a lot of that has to do with the culture that you create in your organization. If you create a culture where that people typically have buy-in to whatever it is you're doing, then when you make these kinds of changes, they're going to occur a lot more easily. People are going to be much more willing to adapt, but a lot of that has to do with the culture that you have.
Yeah, and I think maybe we should talk about planning. Let's wrap up and talk about the plan phase.
So when you get everything set, and you have done the innovation wherever that is in your company, and you have successfully operationalized the innovation, and you got to the point where you're like, yeah, we did that, it's all amazing, and you're just feeling like that you can kick back and that you can relax and everything's all good to go, that's the time that you are in the planning phase, and it's really start time to thinking about, where is my next area of innovation that I need to look at. Now, this is not an action phase. This is a planning phase.
Yeah,
it's really to look at what you need to do next.
And it's a strategic phase is really what it is, because basically from an operational phase, when I just talked about how you're looking at how things are running and you're doing an analysis of it. So things are really starting to move forward. You're really starting to see the impact of the innovation that you've had. And so you're really going back and going, okay, I see how that happened. I see how that had an impact here. Maybe I should think about making some innovation or some changes over here. Or maybe I could do this, or maybe we could do this. Maybe we should think about this. That's starting some strategic planning. That's really where that comes into place, because now you're not looking at where you are, but you're looking at where you can go. You're looking at how the improvement has impacted your business and how you think it could impact it further whenever you do implement some new innovation that comes to your company. And I'll tell you something else. If you need some help with that, you can reach out to me at robertbakerhargrove.com.
Or me, davidbaker-hargrove.com.
Or both of us at bhcassessment.com.
So until next time, we'll see you
at the top of your inbox.